I've seen a bunch of people everywhere claiming that Luka Doncic should be the MVP because of how dominant his stats look. I get it, he's averaging 34 points, 9 rebounds, and 10 assists. The stats look even better if you look at the games he's played since the All-Star break. Since the All-Star break, he's averaged a 33-point triple-double. This season from Luka Doncic is statistically the second best season ever by a player since 1974, only trailing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's 1976 season. But to me, this just shows that everyone I hear talking about Luka Doncic as the MVP are just box score watchers. You gotta actually watch the games, and if you do watch the games, you see that Jokic is the MVP. Jokic has amazing stats as well. This season by Jokic is statistically the 23rd best season in NBA history. He should have been the MVP last year, but voter fatigue is a thing and they gave it to Embiid. Embiid was a frontrunner this year to win the award for the second straight year before a knee injury set him back for half the season. Jokic has the best advanced stats in the league, and it's been this way for the last 4 years. Jokic leads the entire NBA in PER, win shares per 48, box plus minus, and VORP, and it's been this way every year since 2021. I remember the first 2 years that Jokic led the league in all these statistics. People were saying that he was a stats merchant, that he didn't have any defense, that he didn't deserve MVP. But at a certain point, you just gotta realize that this guy is the most valuable player in the NBA. The only other players in NBA history to lead the entire league in PER, win shares for 48, box plus minus, and VORP for 4 more seasons in a row were LeBron from 2009 to 2013 and Jordan from 1988 to 1993. I don't think we're truly realizing how special Nikola Jokic is. But to me, the biggest factor in why I think Nikola Jokic is this year's MVP over Luka Doncic is because Jokic has played 9 more games than Doncic. If they're so comparable in their value, which they are, how would 79 games of MVP level play not be more valuable than 70 games of MVP level play? The rest of my ballot is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 3rd, Jalen Brunson at 4th, and Giannis Antetokounmpo at 5th. I think SGA is a clear number 3, and I could see out an argument where you could put him number 2 over Doncic. I wouldn't agree with it, but I'd at least hear you out. SGA led his team to the number 1 seed in one of the toughest Western conferences ever. It makes it even more impressive that the Thunder are the second youngest team in the NBA, behind the San Antonio Spurs. Shai's weirdly consistent. His season high was 43, but he averaged 30.1 points per game. If we look back at the last 5 players to average 30 or more, their season highs were Luka Doncic, 73 in 2023-24, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 64 in 2023-24, Joel Embiid, 59 in 2022-23, Luka Doncic, 60 in 2022-23, and Damian Lillard, 71 in 2022-23. Brunson is 4th to me, not because I think he's a better player than Giannis, who I have at 5th, and Tatum, who I'd have at 6th. It's because he led his team to 50 wins and the second seed in the East with major injuries to key players like Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, and Mitchell Robinson. He was the 4th leading scorer in the NBA, and that really surprised me. Unlike other NBA seasons in the past 5 or so years, I was on top of everything weekly, updating people's stats in my mind and memorizing them until the end of the season. But this year I wasn't doing it that much. Brunson almost averaging 29 points just completely shocked me. I knew he was having an All-NBA caliber year, a virtual lock for second-team All-NBA and a chance at first-team All-NBA, but I thought he was averaging 26 to 27. Just to think that he was the 3rd or 4th option on a Mavericks team that went to the Conference Finals 2 years ago is crazy. It was in that playoff run that people really found out about Brunson and how good he could be. I remember when he signed with New York in free agency in the summer of 2022 and how so many people disagreed with the signing. Unbelievable timeline leading up to Brunson's superstardom. This was a typical dominant Giannis Antetokounmpo season. It might have been his best season ever though. He's the first player in NBA history to average at least 30 points, at least 11 rebounds, and at least 6 assists a game while shooting 60% or more from the field. To some people, and to me especially, that this season was a disappointment for the Bucks. They acquired Damian Lillard via trade with the Portland Trail Blazers and were expected to be what the Celtics were this year. Instead, the Bucks finished with 49 wins with the 3rd seed in the East, while the Celtics finished with 64 wins and the number 1 seed in the East, even though both teams had massive acquisitions in the offseason. Possibly it was the coaching of the Bucks that caused a disappointing season. Maybe it was the lackluster defense they had because they traded Jrue Holiday to Portland for Damian Lillard, then ended up getting traded to the Celtics a few days later. That shouldn't affect how amazing Giannis was this season, and that's why I have him 5th on my ballot. I could see Tatum being here instead of Giannis. Tatum led his team to one of the most dominant regular season campaigns of all time. I just think his team is so good that he isn't valuable enough to make the top 5. This Rookie of the Year race was between 2 players and 2 players only, Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren. This race was a tale of 2 halves. The first half of the season, Chet was the favorite, and the main reasons why were because of how efficient Chet was and how inefficient Wemby was. Also, the fact that the Thunder had won 21 more games in this point of the season was a big factor in Chet becoming the odds-on favorite for Rookie of the Year. The second half of the season was a completely different story. Wemby had better numbers across the board, and even though that was also the case for the first half of the season, Wemby was more efficient, specifically from 3, while Chet was less efficient from the field and from 3 compared to the first half of the season. In just the second half of the season, Wemby had stat lines like 40 points, 20 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 31 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, 6 blocks, 27 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 5 steals, 5 blocks, and many more. The best game from Chet in the second half of the season was when he had 35 points, 14 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. Chet did play all 82 games to Wemby's 71, but unlike the MVP debate of Jokic possibly winning because he played 79 to Doncic's 70, Wemby was so much better than Chet that it doesn't even matter. Someone point to record as a case for Chet, but Rookie of the Year voting isn't thought of the same way as MVP voting, at least to me.
Just using that God-given talent to just get to the bucket. And how about a God-given talent for a lot of guys that are smaller than Chet Holmgren?
Holmgren follows up. He has, and all the skill that made him the top overall pick. Holmgren from the outside, and they'll exchange 3.
A lot of pressure on him.
And the lob to Holmgren. How about ended up having a solid night on Monday. Now he's trying to attack Bagley. Oh, a nice move.
5 offensive players, and you just play the game. They're going to be relieved. Get a lot of that work, though.
Durant again went up for the jam and wiped away from Holmgren.
He's not used to that.
See Micic using those screens, give it right back to Holmgren. Switched hands.
Bigger guy, but didn't back down.
Micic sets it up. Holmgren once again.
All of last year. This is still his rookie season. He is just starting.
Thunder able to keep it. Did he? No!
Just like MVP, there's a clear number 3, and that number 3 is Brandon Miller. He's the only other guy that I felt showed superstar potential in his rookie season. Now, that's not saying that other players in this draft can't become superstars. A player like J.J. Jackson could certainly become a budding superstar in the next couple years. I actually think Miller has a higher ceiling than Holmgren. Miller could be number 1 on a championship caliber team. I don't think Chet can be that guy. He can be the best number 2 in the league on a championship caliber team, but not a number 1. Not many people got to see Miller at all this year because the Hornets were one of the worst teams in the league, so they didn't get national coverage. Miller said his GOAT, or his favorite player that he was able to watch growing up, was Paul George. And coincidentally, Miller plays a lot like Paul George, specifically in his Indiana days. Miller is 6'9", 200 pounds, while PG-13 was 6'9" and around 210 pounds as a rookie. So they're pretty comparable in their measurables. To me, what really developed Miller's game quicker was the injury to LaMelo Ball and the trading of Terry Rozier. With LaMelo and Terry on the team and playing, Brandon Miller averaged 15 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, half a steal, and half a block a game. Without those two on the team were playing, Miller averaged 20 points, 4.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1 steal, and close to a block a game. His efficiency numbers stayed relatively the same without LaMelo and Terry. Miller played like the second best rookie from January 24th to the end of the season, behind obviously Wemby. I think there's also a relatively clear number 4, and that's Jaime Jaquez Jr. Unlike Miller, people who watch basketball got to see a lot of Jaquez because he's on a playoff caliber team in the Miami Heat who have a superstar in Jimmy Butler. So obviously the Heat are going to get nationally televised games, which gives Jaquez the opportunity to show the basketball world what he's capable of on a nightly basis. Jaquez doesn't have a high ceiling. I don't even think he has a top 10 or so ceiling in this class. He's already 23 years old because he was a 4-year player at UCLA. Being a 4-year player gives you an advantage in your first and sometimes your second year over other rookies that were 1 and done or 2-year players. He already has a ton of experience playing in college. He's faced so many challenges that rookies like Bilal Coulibaly or Asar Thompson haven't. Being 22 plus as a rookie means you're more than likely going to get drafted outside the lottery to a playoff caliber team, and if you're 22 plus as a rookie and you even got drafted in the first round, that means you're likely going to be producing at a high level for a rookie instantly. But the downside is that after your 3rd or 4th year, you probably hit your peak as a basketball player. 5th on my ballot isn't as clear as the top 4. It's between 2 players. Derek Lively is 2nd and Amen Thompson. I'm going to go with Lively again. I think Lively's had more of an impact on winning than Amen, and to add on to that, Lively played on a significantly better team. I think the floor for Lively's career is Clint Capella, ceiling Rudy Gobert. He's really good defensively, but his offensive game is non-existent. He's going to develop quicker than usual over time because of Luka, who pairs perfectly in the pick-and-roll game with Lively. It reminds me of Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan, except this time the point guard is 6'7" and the center is 7'1", instead of 6 foot and 6'11". Lively speed will probably see him average 15 to 16 points, around 10 rebounds and 2 blocks. Possibly a top 10 center in the league at some point. The DPOY race is also between two players, a seasoned veteran looking for his 4th DPOY award, which would put him at a tie with Dikembe Mutombo and Ben Wallace for most of league history, and a first-year phenom destined to possibly break the record for most DPOYs in a career. Of course, I'm talking about Rudy Gobert of the Minnesota Timberwolves and Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs. Now, ever since Wemby started looking like the Wemby of today, so since mid-December, I've been an avid supporter of giving DPOY to him. For the past week, I've thought about it more and more, and I'm kind of leaning towards Rudy Gobert now. I think the same people who are preaching to give Wembanyama the DPOY are the same people who think Luka Doncic deserves MVP. The main reason why I would give it to Gobert over Wembanyama is that Gobert is the best defender on the best defensive team in the NBA, and that team is the best by a decent margin. He holds players to the lowest effective field goal percentage at the rim in the entire league. He's an amazing help defender, and his defensive IQ is off the charts. Gobert has won 3 DPOYs in his career, 2018, 2019, and 2021. And if we look at how those seasons compared to the season by Gobert, we'll see that his 2024 season ranks 3rd in defensive rebound percentage, 3rd in steal percentage, and 4th in block percentage, 1st in defensive win shares, and 4th in defensive box plus minus. Now, I know what you're thinking. He's either 3rd or 4th in every single stat except defensive win shares. How is this a good stat to point out for Gobert's DPOY case? In every single stat, there's only a few decimal places between 1st and 4th because Gobert is very consistent year to year on the defensive end. There's a common theme with Gobert's DPOY case every year since 2018. In the years that he's won the award, his team has been 2nd, 2nd, and 4th at defensive rating. In the years that he hasn't won the award, his team has been 13th, 9th, and 10th. As I said before, Gobert's Timberwolves are the best defensive team in the NBA, and it's not like Gobert's defense has gotten any worse since his first DPOY campaign in 2018. But this year is different because of who Gobert is going up against in this race. Victor Wembanyama is averaging 1.2 steals per game, 2nd highest by a center this season behind Nikola Jokic, and a league-leading 3.6 blocks per game. You have to go back to 2016 to find a season where a player averaged more blocks per game than Wemby this season, that player being Hassan Whiteside. Wembanyama averaged the 3rd highest blocks per game by a rookie in a season ever, only behind Manute Bol in 1986 and David Robinson in 1990. This season by Wembanyama has the 8th highest blocks per game average by a player who played under 30 minutes per game, and he's 1/10 of a block away from being 4th on that list. Above, I said that the people who are claiming Wemby to be the DPOY are the same people who think Luka should be MVP, but I didn't go into my reasoning. That's because I wanted to lay out how dominant Wemby's stats are from a per-game perspective. Wemby and Luka's seasons are comparable in the fact that they're so far ahead of the competition on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, respectively. So box score watchers will just say that Wemby is a clear DPOY, like to say Luka is the clear MVP. Since 1983, which is when they started giving out DPOY awards, only one player has ever won the award on a losing team, and that was Alvin Robertson back in 1986 when the Spurs went 35-47. Wemby's Spurs this year went 22-60, 13 wins fewer. The DPOY voting process is thought of the same way as MVP. Record matters, and that's why Gobert should be getting his 4th DPOY award of his career. The DPOY doesn't always get awarded to the best individual defender though, just like MVP doesn't always get awarded to the best player. There's no doubt in my mind that if you place every DPOY candidate on an average defensive team, Wemby would win DPOY because he's undoubtedly the best individual defender in the league. He'll most likely win the most DPOY awards in history. My 3rd place finisher on this ballot is tough. It's between Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo, and I'm going to lean towards the latter. Yes, Anthony Davis averages more steals and blocks per game, but as I clearly stated above, that isn't the end-all be-all of DPOY discussions. Bam Adebayo is this generation's Dennis Rodman statistically. You can make a very compelling argument that Dennis Rodman is the greatest defender of all time, but his career stats that read 0.7 steals per game and 0.6 blocks per game wouldn't support that argument. Rodman never even averaged 1 full steal or block per game in any season in his 14-year career, but he won back-to-back DPOYs in 1990 and 1991. Bam this year is averaging 1.1 steals and 0.9 blocks, which pales in comparison to AD's 1.2 steals and 2.3 blocks. The Heat's defense, spearheaded by Bam, is 5th in the league, while the Lakers' defense is 16th, so that's also a pretty big factor. Bam Adebayo is also the most switchable defender in the league, being able to guard 1 through 5. He's able to guard 1s, 2s, and 3s with the best one because he's an undersized center at only 6'9", but he's also able to guard 4s and 5s at the elite level because of his insane vertical. AD did play 5 more games, and seeing that makes me consider switching, but I won't. Bam has surprisingly never finished top 3 in DPOY voting, but he's made 4 all-defensive teams. Anthony Davis has had a top 3 DPOY caliber season, but Gobert, Wemby, and Bam are just that good.
Really something to strive for. A little attack mode, blocked by Davis. First quarter. They blitz Booker with 2.
Oh, he stepped over.
Swing it, Gordon, extra. Allen the drive, floats it up, doesn't go. Nurkic fakes the pass, backs in, loses his footing. Had the chair pulled out from under him, but could not hit. 50-38 in favor of LA. Nurkic takes it in. Allen tried the acrobatic shot, and Davis.
Very important in that Pelican win. Oh, Ingram, the former Laker, rejected by Davis. To the Lakers. We got the coaches mic'd up tonight, too. You're going to hear them in the background. Valanciunas inside with the whistle, and Davis will defend Valanciunas. Knocked away.
The game the other night, LeBron gave it to him and stood there and watched with 1:30 on the clock.
Shot clock is at 6. Marshall outside. Jones from the wing. Nice.
Offensive rebound. Miles Turner to a cutting heel. His shot won't go.
For fifth, I wanted to get guard representation. For the people who avidly follow the game of basketball, you should know that interior defense is so much more valuable than the perimeter defense. There's a reason why only 8 perimeter players have ever won DPOY. So realistically, Jared Allen, who I'd have 6th on my ballot, should probably get the 5th spot over Derek White, but I don't like to have all centers on my DPOY ballot. A stat that I found extremely surprising is that Derek White has a higher block percentage than Jared Allen. Block percentage is an estimate of the percentage of an opponent's 2-point field goal attempts blocked by the player while he was on the floor. White's block percentage is 3.2 while Allen's is 3. White is tied with Dwayne Wade's 2011 season for the most total blocks by a player 6'4" or shorter in a season in the last 15 years. From December 17th to December 29th, Derek White had 2+ blocks in each game, averaging 2.6 blocks per game over a 7-game span. The last guard to do that was Michael Jordan all the way back in 1987. He's also the best defender on the 2nd best defense in the NBA, and that team so happens to be the best team in the NBA and the best team we've seen since the 2018 Warriors. Whenever Derek White played, his team won 79.4% of their games. Jared Allen, who leads the 6th best defense in the NBA, won just 59.7% of the games he played in, a whole 20% lower than White. Now, some people might say, well, Jared Allen doesn't have as much defensive help, and he'd be right in a way, but I wouldn't take anyone on the Celtics other than Derek White over Evan Mobley defensively. Both players' on-off defensive rating is plus 0.9, which means their teams are 1 point per 100 possessions better defensively when they're on the court versus when they're off the court. Like I said, you can go either way with this, I just want some backcourt representation. Before Malik Monk's injury, he was the odds-on favorite to take home 6th Man of the Year for a playoff-bound Sacramento Kings team. After his injury, which made him miss the rest of the season, Naz Reid of the Minnesota Timberwolves became the favorite. And I think that's because A, he's on the top 4 team in the NBA, and B, he's played all but one of the 82 games. Monk was on pace to miss only 1 game just like Reid. There's no doubt in my mind that if Malik Monk didn't get injured, he would take home 6th Man of the Year. Naz Reid played really good all year though, and I believe he truly is worthy of this award. Naz was really efficient, especially from 3 where he shot north of 40%. Out of all the players who shot over 40% from 3 while taking at least 5 a game, Naz Reid finished 7th, with Grayson Allen, Mike Conley, Norman Powell, CJ McCollum, Sam Hauser, and D'Angelo Russell finishing ahead of him. Notice the common theme? All the players I just listed aren't big men, but Naz Reid is. He joins John Starks and Darrell Armstrong as the only players to go undrafted and win 6th Man of the Year. On 90% of NBA teams, Naz Reid would be starting, but since Minnesota already has Cat at the 4 and Gobert at the 5, Reid is relegated to the bench. But when Cat was out for 18 games with an injury, Reid stepped up. He averaged 17.6 points, 6.8 rebounds, 2.1 assists, 1.2 steals, and 1.4 blocks, and the Timberwolves went 12-5, which is a higher win percentage than what the full season for the Timberwolves was. Reid's best game was on April 7th when he had 31 points, 11 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, and 1 block and 75% shooting. Not surprisingly, this game came when he was starting for Cat. Second is clearly Malik Monk, because he's too good of a player to put below second. Monk is second in bench scoring behind Bogdan Bogdanovic and second in bench assists behind TJ McConnell. Like I said before, Monk was the runaway favorite before his MCL sprain sat him down for the rest of the season. Now, if you look at the numbers, you'd think that him being a runaway favorite would be surprising, but if you even watch a couple Kings games, you notice that Malik Monk, when healthy, was easily the best 6th man this season. Numbers don't do it justice even in the slightest. Nothing I can say will truly make anyone watching realize how good he was, other than that he was an elite offensive spark off the bench. He also played pretty good defense. He had 8 games this season with at least 20 points, at least 5 rebounds, and at least 5 assists while coming off the bench, by far the most in the league. Monk's best game was on January 3rd, where he had 37 points, 3 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block on 60% shooting. I think the top 2 are clear, but after that you can go with whoever. 3 through 5 for me are Bogdan Bogdanovic, Bobby Portis, and Norman Powell, but I could easily make an argument for Powell at 3 or Portis at 3. It's so close between these 3, and I'd even throw Karis LeVert, who I'd have 6, into the mix to possibly contend for that 3rd spot. I'll go with Bogdanovic though because of his shooting prowess. Bogdanovic is a true 6-man, and I say that because he does better coming off the bench than he does starting. Bogdanovic did start a good amount of games, 33 to be exact. For me personally, I like my 6-man of the year candidates to start as few games as possible. Bogdanovic led the league in bench scoring at just under 17 a game. Bogdanovic's play style reminds me of Reggie Miller, and those stats back it up as well. Bogdanovic this season averaged 1 less point, half a rebound more, and the same assists as Reggie Miller did in his career. Just like Reggie, Bogdanovic is a shooter and a shooter only. Bogdanovic was 6th in the NBA in 3-pointers made. Fun fact, Bogdanovic takes more 3s than 2s. Bogdanovic also has by far the best on-off rating out of all the 6-man of the year candidates at plus 10.3. That means the Hawks are 10 points per 100 possessions better when Bogdanovic is on the court versus when he's off the court. For example, Nas Reed is at minus 1.2 and Malik Monk is at minus 5.4. Now you might be wondering how Bogdanovic is third with a plus 10.3 on-off rating while the top 2 are both negative. That's because on-off is skewed for 6 men because they're playing with other bench players while they're on the court. But in some instances that isn't the case. Bogdanovic regularly played over 30 minutes a game, the most minutes played out of all the 6-man of the year candidates, so he's usually playing with starters like Trae Young or DeJounte Murray. Bogdanovic's best game was on December 11th when he had 40 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals on 58% shooting. Bobby Portis' case for being in that 3rd spot over Bogdanovic is that he played all 82 games, he only started 4 out of 82 games, and he played on a team that won 13 more games than Bogdanovic's team. Portis led the entire league in double-doubles off the bench. Like Nas Reed, he's super efficient from 3 as a big man, shooting 40% from beyond the arc. Portis played such a key role for this Bucks team off the bench. To me, the only player that was more valuable to the team's success was Malik Monk because of the lack of quality at depth at the guard position for the Kings. Portis' best game was on March 17th when he had 31 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 steals. Unlike other 6-man of the year candidates, Portis is really consistent as he has a bunch of games just like the game I just listed. Players like Nas Reed and Bogdanovic have one outstanding outlier game and the rest are good to average. That isn't the case with Bobby Kersey, as Portis. 5th is Norman Powell, and at times this season he was the 3rd best player on the team with 4 future Hall of Famers. Obviously Kawhi and PG-13 will be the top 2, but on a good amount of nights, Norman Powell was better than James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Powell's best quality is his efficiency, shooting close to 44% from 3, which is good enough for 5th best in the entire league. Powell's definitely good enough to be a quality starter, and it shows when you look at his past seasons on different teams. From 2020 to 2022, so a 3-year span, Powell averaged 18 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and half a block on amazing efficiency, and he started 75% of the games. Powell's season last year was objectively better than this season, but this season he played 76 games to last season's 60. Norman Powell's best game was on January 14th when he had 24 points, 1 rebound, and 2 blocks on 75% shooting, considerably worse than every other 6-man of the year candidate's best game. You can make a good argument for Karis LeVert to be in the top 5 over Norman Powell, but I won't make a good argument. The MIP race this year is very fascinating because we have 2 up-and-coming superstars in Tyrese Maxey and Alperen Şengün, but then we have 3 players who are bona fide role players last year but quality starters this year, in Kobe White, Jonathan Kuminga, and Cam Thomas. Who do I think should win the award? Kobe White. Kobe White was on a downward trajectory before the start of the season. His first 2 seasons were good, which saw him average 13 points, 3.5 rebounds, 3 assists in the rookie season in 2020 and 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists in his sophomore season in 2021. But in his 3rd year in 2022 was where the downfall started. He averaged 2 less points, 1 less rebound, and 2 less assists, and in his 4th season he went from 13 points to 10, stayed at 3 rebounds, and stayed at 3 assists on slightly worse efficiency. Then out of nowhere this season he averaged 19 points, 4.5 rebounds, 5 assists on good efficiency, and for a good part of the season was the best player in the Bulls over DeMar DeRozan. From November 28, 2023 to February 28, 2024, Kobe White averaged 22 points, 5.5 rebounds, 6 assists, half a steal, and 0.2 blocks on 46, 39, 83 splits. That's all-star numbers. His first month wasn't that good, and his last 2 months were good, but not as good as months 2 to 4. He turned from a role player with a dark future to a potential all-star next season. That's incredible. And he's only 24, so he's got another 3 to 5 years until he hits his physical prime. He was also a plus 2.1 for on-off rating. His best game was on March 4th when he had 37 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, and 73% shooting. Second on my ballot is Tyrese Maxey, who was the odds-on favorite to win the award. He was a borderline all-star last year when he averaged 20 points, 30 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1 steal, and 0.1 blocks on amazing efficiency. This season he was an all-star, averaging 26 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, and half a block on good efficiency, but worse than last year. That's the main reason why he is the number 1 on my ballot, because he was already a very good player last year. The main point people make when talking about Maxey as the MIP is that he carried the 76ers when the MVP Joel Embiid was out with injury and kept them afloat in the standings, albeit struggling at times. He averaged 25.5 points, 4 rebounds, and 5.5 assists on 44, 37, 86 splits in the 2-month absence of Embiid. He averaged 25.5 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists on better efficiency when Embiid did play. However, the team went from 4th in the East before Embiid's injury to 8th in the East the day before Embiid came back. They went 11 and 18 in the games between February 1st and March 31st. I know that this isn't the end-all be-all of MIP discussions, and frankly it shouldn't be at all, but if the main reason why Maxey should be MIP is because of how he carried the 76ers, this kind of stuff needs to be brought up. Maxey's best game this season was on November 12th when he had 50 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 blocks on 62% shooting. He also had games like 51 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 block on 63% shooting on February 1st, 52 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals on 46% shooting on April 7th. I know what you're thinking, Maxey clearly has the best games out of any MIP candidate, and you'd be right. But you gotta remember that this is for the most improved player, the MIP. Maxey didn't improve as much as Kobe White, because we already knew how good Maxey was going to become. Kobe White's ascension was completely unexpected. Third on my ballot is Jonathan Kuminga. He went from 9.9 points last year to 16.1 points this year, 3.4 rebounds to 4.8, 1.9 assists to 2.2, and he basically stayed at the same steals and blocks. Starting on January 12th in a game against the Bulls, Kuminga began a streak of 20-plus point games, which would go on until February 2nd and last 8 games. He averaged 25.6 points, 6.6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.4 steals, and 0.5 blocks in that amazing stretch. Ever since that mid-January game against the Bulls, Kuminga has looked like the Warriors' second-best player. He's averaged 19.2 points, 5.4 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 0.9 steals, and 0.6 blocks since that breakout game. And by the way, this is all at around 54% shooting. This one, just like the Kobe White ascension, was pretty unexpected. Everyone knew Kuminga was good. There's a reason why he was drafted 7th overall in 2021, coincidentally the same pick that Kobe White got drafted back in 2019. He averaged the same stat line across the board over his rookie and sophomore seasons, but exploded in his 3rd year. I remember watching him in the 2022 NBA playoffs and just thinking that he was a raw project and that he'd never fulfill his potential because he wouldn't completely get acclimated to the NBA's physicality level. And even to this point, he hasn't. I could see him averaging 23 points per game at some point in his career. His best game this season came on January 24th when he had 25 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks on perfect shooting, 100%. Fourth on my ballot is Alperen Sengun, and he'd be 3rd if he played more games. As I'm typing this, I just learned something new about the 65-game requirement. In the rulebook, it says the NBA's new collective bargaining agreement requires players to play 20 minutes in at least 63 games, which means 15 to 20 minutes in 2 games to be eligible for MVP, DPOY, MIP, the All-NBA teams, and the All-Defensive teams. I thought you had to play 65 games regardless of how many minutes you play. This helps Alperen Sengun a ton because he played 63 games this season, and each game he played more than 20 minutes, so I guess he qualifies for awards. He would be 3rd for me if he played more games, and that's not his fault as he got an ankle and knee injury against the Kings on March 10th. He played 12 less games this season than he did last season, but he averaged 6 more points, the same amount of rebounds, 1 more assist, about half a steal more, and basically the same amount of blocks. But it was on worse efficiency across the board. A lot of people call Domantas Sabonis the Walmart Nikola Jokic. I'd call Alperen Sengun the Walmart Domantas Sabonis and the Dollar General Nikola Jokic. However, Sengun is significantly better through his first 3 years than Sabonis was and is averaging the same points, assists, steals, and blocks as Jokic, just 1 less rebound. Sengun in his 3rd season is better than both Sabonis and Jokic in their 3rd season, averaging 21 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block this season. Sabonis in his 3rd season, which was in 2019, averaged 14 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, half a steal, and half a block a game. Jokic in his 3rd season, 2018, averaged 18.5 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block a game. Is Alperen Sengun going to be a 3-time MVP, champion, and finals MVP? Most likely not, but he's better at this point than the other players like him in the NBA. His best game this season was on March 5th when he had 45 points, 16 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 steals and 1 block, and 59% shooting. Fifth on my ballot is Cam Thomas, but it could definitely go to Jalen Williams. Cam Thomas had the biggest jump in points per game from last season to this season. He's just a pure scorer. He went from 10.6 points last year to 22.5 this year, 1.7 rebounds to 3.2 rebounds, 1.4 assists to 2.9 assists, 0.4 steals to 0.7 steals, and 0.1 blocks to 0.2 blocks. His efficiency got a little bit worse though, but if I'm being honest, I don't like how Cam Thomas plays. Probably has the worst shot selection in the NBA and he doesn't pass the ball that much. He has one of the highest touches per pass average in the entire league. Touches per pass is self-explanatory. How many times do you touch the ball before you pass it? It's a ratio stat. The reason why I won't put Jalen Williams at the OKC Thunder here is because he's in his sophomore year, and for most players who are drafted in the lottery, they're expected to make a significant jump from their first year to the second year. It always happens. Fun fact, Cam Thomas was born in Japan and only 0.015% of Japanese people are black. Crazy. Thomas had a really good 17-game stretch at the season, averaging 26.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, half a steal, and 0.2 blocks a game on 45% shooting. Thomas's best game was on November 6th when he had 45 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal on 51% shooting. If you don't remember, all NBA teams are positionless now. On my first team, I got Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jason Tatum. Now, if you remember all the way back to the start of the video, you'll realize that I had Jalen Brunson in my top 5 for MVP voting over Jason Tatum, but he isn't on my first team All-NBA. That's because All-NBA is just the best players in the league this season, not the most valuable players in the league. Advanced stats are the best metric to show how good a player truly is, and for each important advanced metric, here's how Jokic, Luka, SGA, and Giannis rank. PER, Jokic first, Giannis second, SGA third, Luka fourth. Win shares, Jokic first, SGA second, Giannis third, Luka fifth. Win shares per 48, Jokic first, SGA second, Giannis third, Luka fifth. Box plus minus, Jokic first, Luka second, Giannis third, SGA fourth. VORP, Jokic first, Luka second, Giannis third, SGA fourth. So they're clearly the 4 best players in the league this season. Tatum and Brunson is a very good debate though. I'd take Tatum though because he's around 6'9 to 6'10, a solid 225 pounds, very good shot making, amazing defense, and a winner's mindset. Brunson is just limited by his height at 6'2", and that might be a bit generous. I heard someone say a couple days ago that if Kyrie Irving was 6'6 instead of 6'2", he'd be not only the best player in the NBA, but one of the greatest players of all time. There's a butterfly effect to that though. If you magically grow 4 inches taller, you're gonna A, gain more weight, and B, be less agile. So say Brunson grows 4 or 5 inches. Would he really be better than if he stayed at his normal height of 6 feet 2 inches? Probably, but not as drastic of a difference as most people think. I also think you gotta have the best player on the clear best team in the league on first team All-NBA. On my second team, I have Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Jalen Brunson is obvious, and the same thing can be said for Anthony Davis. This season by AD was historic. He became only the second player ever to average at least 24 points, at least 12 rebounds, at least 3 assists, at least 1 steal, and at least 2 blocks a game while shooting at least 55% from the field. The only other player to do it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he did it back-to-back seasons in 1977 and 1978. As much as people hate to hear this, AD is the best player on the Lakers, and to unbiased sense of the game, I think that's pretty obvious. Whenever I tell people this, their main excuse for LeBron is that he's old. That's exactly why he isn't better than AD. AD is 31, LeBron is 39. LeBron at 31 is obviously better than AD right now. So no, I'm not hating on LeBron. Edwards, KD, and LeBron aren't so obvious, and you can make a compelling argument that other players deserve All-NBA second team nominations over them. I'll argue for them though. Anthony Edwards led his Minnesota Timberwolves to 56 wins in the 3rd seed in the West at only 22 years old. I hear so many people saying that he's the future, and that he's the next MJ and Kobe, and that he'll be the best player in the NBA in 3 or so years. First of all, I'm taking Wemby right now as a rookie over Anthony Edwards, and don't even get me started on Wemby in 3 years versus Anthony Edwards in 3 years. It won't even be close, I promise. If we look at MJ's 4th season in the league, he averaged 35 points, 5.5 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and 1.5 blocks. He won MVP and DPOY in the same season, only 1 of 3 players to ever do that. In Kobe's 4th season, he averaged 22.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.5 steals, and 1 block a game. Anthony Edwards in his 4th season is averaging 26 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.5 steals, and 0.5 blocks a game. Edwards is better than Kobe, but not MJ. But can you really say that when Kobe in his fourth season won a championship and on a 67-win team? I don't know. KD averaged 27 points, 6.5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block a game on 62.5% true shooting this season. The only players to ever do that are him and Giannis Antetokounmpo. KD's done it twice, Giannis has done it 4 times. He also averaged the most points per game by a player 35 years or older while playing the required amount of games in NBA history. KD has shown signs of slowing down though. Last season he averaged 29 points per game on significantly better efficiency, and in 2022 he averaged 30 points per game on slightly better efficiency. This is also his worst PER since his second season in the league. It's his worst true shooting percentage since 2012. It's his worst win shares per 48 since his second season in the league. It's his worst box plus minus since his second season in the league. KD's gradually slowing down, and it makes me sad.
Throw in. Here is Durant for the win! Kevin Durant has won it at the buzzer!
Durant right around Chandler. Oh, come on! Oh, wow!
In a tie game, Durant for 3 for the win. He's got it! He's got it! He's got it! A half a second remaining, and Durant has done it again! Curry on the go route. Back to Durant! What a play!
Oh, Blake Griffin! Razzle dazzle! Oh, next level! Kevin Durant, the rack attack! 4 of 5 from long range. Durant's got 11. Craig goes down. Durant is going to highlight!
And there, Kevin Durant just passed Moses Malone. He's now the 10th all-time leading scorer in NBA history. By the end of this season, he could be 8th.
LeBron averaged 26 points, 7.5 rebounds, 8.5 assists, 1.5 steals, and 0.5 blocks a game, while shooting 54% from the field this season. Only players to ever do that are him 3 times and Nikola Jokic twice. There were only 10 players this season that were better 3-point shooters than LeBron James statistically.
They get it to LeBron. Turiaf's on him at 3 and 2. LeBron to win the game. He does! He does! Back-to-back 1-point losses for the Warriors at the Horn.
Johnson. Wow.
Check that ball.
James steps through, finds Dampier. Great block inside by Sean Williams. What a pass by James to Dampier. Oh, wow.
A great defensive block, number 1, and then an incredible pass by LeBron James, seeing Dampier move without the ball.
Green option and a different way to score coming off baseline swing.
Oh, he does it again. Throws it right up to the rim. James comes flying in from the right corner. And another dunk.
Jason Terry, good defense. Wade from behind takes it away. Chalmers, Cole, James! Whoa! And a technical foul called on Miami for the taunt.
Now it looked like he jumped out of the mezzanine to dunk this ball.
Even though all NBA teams are positionless now, my first and second team has 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center. My third team isn't though, as I have 2 guards, a forward, and 2 centers. I got Stephen Curry, Devin Booker, Kawhi Leonard, Domantas Sabonis, and Victor Wembanyama. Curry, Booker, and Kawhi are obvious. They were the 3 players I mentioned that had a chance of taking a second team All-NBA position over Anthony Edwards, Kevin Durant, and LeBron James. This is the first player on my All-NBA teams to not make the playoffs. I think this is Curry's last truly great season. He went off for 60 earlier this year, which was probably one of his 5 best regular season games in his career. But across the board, his advanced metrics are down. Lowest PER since his second season, lowest win share since his 2012 season, lowest win shares per 48 since his second season, lowest box plus minus since his 2012 season. The days of Curry being a consensus top 5 player in the league are over. I remember just last year people were talking about if Curry was still better than Luka, and the overwhelming opinion was that he was. The last time I thought Curry even had a chance of being better than Luka was in 2022 when Curry won the championship. 2022 was probably the worst Curry regular season ever while he had superstar expectations. He just turned 36, which is crazy to think about. Devin Booker played the point guard position this year and he excelled at it. This might have been Booker's best season of his career. Booker recorded 3 50-plus point games this season, 13th most in a season in modern NBA history, which is since 1980. He did this while averaging the most assists of his career and having the second most efficient season of his career. It's at worst his second best season of his career. The only season that could possibly be better than 2024 is his 2022 season, where he was 4th in MVP voting and led his team to a 64-18 record. Booker's 2024 season ranks 2nd in PER, 2nd in true shooting percentage, 1st in win shares, 1st in win shares per 48, 3rd in box plus minus, and 2nd in VORP among all his other seasons. He was great at everything. He's one of 8 players to average at least 27.1 points and at least 6.9 assists while shooting at least 61% true shooting. Others being Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, James Harden 4 times, LeBron James, Damian Lillard 3 times, Nikola Jokic, and Luka Doncic. Kawhi Leonard was the closest out of these 3 to making it to second team. He probably would have gone over Anthony Edwards had he made it. The Clippers started the season 8-10, and it was looking like the James Harden trade was a huge mistake. Then from December 2nd, 2023 to February 14th, 2024, they went 28-7 and 80% win rate. Kawhi was looking like a serious contender for first team All-NBA. The Clippers were looking like the best team in the NBA, and Kawhi was a near lock for top 5 in MVP voting. His stats during that insane stretch were 25.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block a game on absolutely disgusting efficiency. He shot 56% from the field, 49% from 3, and 93% from the line. That equals to a 67% true shooting, which would be the highest by a point guard, shooting guard, or small forward ever. He literally was the most efficient non-big man ever for 35 straight games. That's insane. Then from the first game after the All-Star break to the end of the season, the Clippers went 15-14, slowing down heavily, and so did Kawhi. He averaged 23 points, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.5 steals, and 1 block a game on 52% from the field, 31% from 3, and 87% from the line, which would equate to a 60.4% true shooting. Not saying it isn't good, he just came back down to earth. Domantas Sabonis led the league this season in double-doubles with 77. That's the most double-doubles in a season since 1985. He has the post-merger record since 1977 in consecutive double-doubles at 61, which lasted from December 2nd, 2023 to April 7, 2024. In that span, he averaged 20 points, 14.5 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, and 0.5 blocks a game on 60% from the field, 36% from 3, and 72% from the line. He also led the league in triple-doubles at 26. Only 4 players in history, which in total account for 6 seasons, have had more triple-doubles in a single season than Domantas Sabonis had this season. Those players being Russell Westbrook 3 times, Oscar Robertson, Wilt Chamberlain, and Nikola Jokic. If you didn't know, the website I'm using is called StatMuse, and for some reason, they got triple-double data going all the way back to the 1951 season, but for double-doubles, it only goes back to the 1985 season. That's completely backwards though, because I'm almost 100% certain that triple-doubles weren't officially tracked until the 1980 season, while double-doubles have almost always been tracked throughout NBA history. The last player on my 13-team All-NBA is the rookie phenom Victor Wembanyama. The last time a rookie made an All-NBA team was back in 1998 when another Spurs legend made it. Who am I talking about? Obviously Tim Duncan. Is that a good omen for Wemby? Probably. He might not make it though because of his team's terrible record. In the calendar year of 2023, Wemby averaged 19 points, 10.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.5 steals, and 3 blocks a game on 44, 29, 79 splits. In the calendar year of 2024, he averaged 23 points, 11 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1 steal, and 4 blocks a game on 48, 34, 80 splits. You're really going to tell me that he isn't a top 15 player in the NBA with those unreal numbers? If you say he isn't, I'm going to look at you differently, and I mean that in a negative way, as negative as possible. For his best month, you could pick either January, February, or March, and I wouldn't disagree with you. In January, he averaged 24 points, 9.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1 steal, and 3.5 blocks at 50% shooting. In February, he averaged 21.5 points, 11 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 2 steals, and 4 blocks on 47% shooting. In March, he averaged 23 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 4 blocks on 47% shooting. Now, we all know that Wemby recorded just the 15th 5x5 game in NBA history, which means he recorded at least 5 points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks against the Lakers on February 23rd. What most people don't know is that he almost had back-to-back 5x5 games. Just the night before against the Kings, Wemby recorded 19 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 steals, and 5 blocks. Wemby's supporting cast is so bad though that they lost both games. Honorable mentions go to Tyrese Halliburton, Zion Williamson, Jaylen Brown, Rudy Gobert, and Tyrese Maxey. The closest player to getting All-NBA nomination was Tyrese Halliburton, and he almost certainly would have made it had he not gotten injured, which significantly hampered his production. He was looking like a steroid version of Steve Nash through his first 18 games, which saw him average 27 points, 4 rebounds, 12 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block a game on 52% from the field, 44% from 3, and 88% from the line. Now from Game 19 to Game 69, he averaged 18 points, 4 rebounds, 10.5 assists, 1.5 steals, and 1 block a game on 45% from the field, 33% from 3, and 83% from the line. Those first 18 games were magical though, and he played like a seasoned veteran, a future Hall of Famer, a lock for first team All-NBA, and in consideration for top 3 to 5 in MVP voting. My all-defensive first team consists of Rudy Gobert, Victor Wembanyama, Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis, and Alex Caruso. Just like with MVP, you might be wondering, how was Derek White 5th in your DPOY ballot, but he doesn't make all-defensive first team? It's very simple. Like I'm sure I've said earlier in this video, MVP and DPOY are thought of the same way when it comes to the voting process. You need to win games to be in consideration for awards like that. But just like all NBA teams, all defensive teams aren't so heavily weighted on winning, and that's why Alex Caruso, a member of the 39-win Chicago Bulls, gets my nod for all defensive first team over Derek White, a member of the 64-win Boston Celtics. Caruso has a plus 6.3 on-off defensive rating, which demolishes White's plus 0.9. Caruso averages more stocks, which is steals plus blocks. He has a higher steal percentage and block percentage. White does have a higher defensive win share, but Caruso has him beat on defensive box plus minus. Gobert, Wemby, Bam, and AD I've already talked about, so I don't need to go in depth on why I picked them for my first team all-defense. On my second team all-defense, I got Jared Allen, Herb Jones, Jalen Suggs, Derek White, and Isaiah Hartenstein. Derek White is obvious, don't need to go in depth about that. I also already explained why Jared Allen should be on an all-defensive team above in the DPOY section. If I wanted to, I could just say that Herb Jones deserves to be on all-defensive second because of his nicknames alone. His nicknames are Straight Jacket and Not on Herb. He's 6'8", very agile, has a 7-foot wingspan, good weight, quick feet, and amazing hand-eye coordination. That's everything you could ask for in an all-defensive caliber player. He makes his team slightly better when he's on the court defensively versus when he's off the court. Him and Trey Murphy III make up one of the best defensive tandems in the NBA today. Herb Jones is just a complete menace. Jalen Suggs spearheads a top 3 defensive team in the league. He really came out of nowhere as a defender this year, being the best defender on the Magic as a perimeter defender when you have a top 10 defensive big man, Jonathan Isaac, also on the team. I remember this guy legitimately being one of the 5 worst players in the NBA, and I'm not joking. Then in 2023, he got a bit better, showing his defensive prowess that the Magic organization knew he had when he was drafted 5th overall out of Gonzaga back in 2021. And now in his 3rd season in 2024, he's become, in my book, one of the 10 best defenders in the entire NBA. The last player on my second team is Isaiah Hartenstein, and some of you watching this might not even know who Hartenstein is. If you don't know, he's a backup center for the Knicks. When the Knicks' normal starting center, Mitchell Robinson, played, the Knicks had a defensive rating of 115.3, which would be league average. When Mitchell Robinson was injured, which was for 50 straight games from December 11, 2023 to March 25, 2024, the Knicks had a defensive rating of 113.5, good for top 10 in the league. Hartenstein also impacted winning a ton. When Mitchell Robinson got injured, the Knicks were 12-9, good for 8th in the East. When Mitchell Robinson came back from injury on March 25th, the Knicks were 43-28, 4th in the East. They went 31-19 when Isaiah Hartenstein was starting for Robinson, a 62% win rate compared to the 57.1% win rate they had in the 21 games to begin the season with Mitchell Robinson starting. Honorable mentions go to Chet Holmgren, Lou Dort, Drew Holiday, Jaden McDaniels, and Kawhi Leonard. My mind is telling me to put Holmgren over a player like Isaiah Hartenstein, but it feels kind of weird to have 2 rookies on an all-defensive team, even if both rookies are defensive prodigies. The all-rookie first team is easy. Brandon Miller, Jaime Hawkins Jr., Derek Lively II, Chet Holmgren, and Victor Wembanyama. Don't need to go into reasoning because I already did that for my Rookie of the Year section. Second team decisions are infinitely tougher. I got Amen Thompson, Brandon Podziemski, Keontae George, Gigi Jackson, and Trace Jackson Davis. Amen Thompson is obvious. I almost had him top 5 on my Rookie of the Year ballot, so he was almost on my all-rookie first team. To start the season, Brandon Podziemski was looking like a top 5 rookie, but then he slowed down once he was relegated to the bench. His first stretch of games weren't bad, but it wouldn't warrant consideration for first team all-rookie. But from December 16, 2023 to March 9, 2024, he averaged 10.5 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 0.2 blocks a game on 45% from the field, 35% from 3, and 60% from the line. Then his last 19 games of the season were a step down from that great stretch. Overall, he played really well, serving as a backup shooting guard for the Warriors this season. He was weirdly inefficient from the free throw line though, shooting just over 63%. Not counting the two rookie sensations in Wembanyama and Holmgren, Podziemski led all rookies with games of at least 15 points, at least 5 rebounds, and at least 5 assists with 7 games. His best game was on February 14th when he had 25 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, and 1 steal on 75% shooting. Keontae George didn't get much spotlight as he was playing on a Jazz team that ended up 12th in the West with just 31 wins. But Keontae did play solidly. He averaged the 5th most points by a rookie this season, albeit on terrible efficiency, but to a certain extent you gotta expect that from a first-year guard playing on a trash team. He also averaged the 2nd most assists a game by a rookie, only behind Scoot Henderson. He's third amongst all rookies in games with at least 15 points and at least 5 assists with 18. Only 2 that are ahead of him are of course Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson. On the season he averaged 13 points, 3 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 0.5 steals, and 0.1 blocks on terrible efficiency. He shot 39% from the field, 33% from 3, and 84% from the line. At least he wasn't the most inefficient rookie of the past couple years. That honor goes to Jalen Suggs, who, when he shot 36% from the field, 21% from 3, and 77% from the line back in 2022. Fun fact, the only player since 2000 to be less efficient in a season than Jalen Suggs was back in 2022 while averaging over 10 points a game were Emmanuel Mudiay, Ron Mercer, Lonzo Ball, Larry Hughes, Adam Morrison, and Killian Hayes. Anyways, the best stretch of games from Keontae George this season was the last 20 games when he averaged 15 points, 30 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 0.5 steals, and 0.1 blocks a game on 38% shooting. If you combine his stats from game 19 to game 75, his averages are 14 points, 3 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 0.5 steals, and 0.1 blocks on 40% shooting. His best game was on December 11th when he had 30 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, and 1 steal on 58% shooting. The next 2 on my all-rookie second team are outliers. Why is that? Because both of them were drafted in the 2nd round. I'll talk about the youngest player in the NBA first, and that player is Gigi Jackson of the Memphis Grizzlies. As I said in my Rookie of the Year section, outside of Wemby, Chet, and Brandon Miller, Gigi Jackson was the only rookie I saw that showed superstar potential this season. This guy was born on December 17, 2004. He ain't even 3 years older than me, that's crazy to think about. He was the 45th pick and didn't get to see serious playing time until Game 39 of the Grizzlies season. If the 65-game rule were in effect for all rookie teams, Gigi Jackson wouldn't be able to make it since he only played in 48 games this season. He only played in 42 where he got to see a good amount of playing time. In those 42 games, he averaged 16.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 0.5 steals, and 0.5 blocks on 43% from the field, 35% from 3, and 75% from the line. It ain't ridiculous to say that Gigi Jackson, who was drafted 45th overall, was the 4th best rookie since January 13th, only behind, of course, Victor Wembanyama, who averaged 23 points, 11 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1.5 steals, and 4 blocks. Chet Holmgren, who averaged 15.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 0.5 steals, and 2 blocks. And Brandon Miller, who averaged 20 points, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1 steal, and 0.5 blocks. However, those 3 players were drafted 1st, 2nd in 2022, and 2nd in 2023. The Grizzlies didn't get many nationally televised games this season, 4 to be exact, because John Murray was suspended and then injured and played less than 10 games this season. That means most people didn't get to see Gigi Jackson live, but trust me, next season when Ja's fully healthy and Gigi Jackson continues to develop, with Jerry Jackson Jr.'s DPOY caliber defense, you'll be able to see a bunch of Grizzlies games. Gigi Jackson's best game this season was on the last day of the season when he had 44 points, 12 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, and 1 block, and 47% shooting. The last player on my list was drafted 57th overall by the Warriors, and his name is Trayce Jackson Davis. What kickstarted Jackson Davis' career was a suspension of Draymond Green, which let him get more minutes, and in those minutes he averaged 9 points, 5.5 rebounds, 1 assist, 0.5 steals, and 1 block a game on 72% shooting, albeit on only 5 shot attempts a game. Then he slowed down once Draymond got back into the starting lineup, only averaging 7.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 1 assist, 0.5 steals, and 1 block a game on 72% shooting from January 15th to March 24th. Then, for some reason, he started the last 11 games of the season, and his stats unsurprisingly got better. He averaged 10.5 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1.5 blocks a game on 66% shooting. I don't think he'll ever be considered a top 10 center in the league because A, he's undersized, and B, if you're an undersized center, you got to be able to stretch the floor, but Trayce Jackson Davis can't. He'll be a solid backup though for years to come, probably around a 6-year career. Honorable mentions go to Scoot Henderson, Cason Wallace, Asar Thompson, and Bilal Coulibaly.